All right, so it's now time for Fertilizer in the Field, real issues, real solutions. So, of course, you know that this is the program where there's an issue or there are issues, and then Fertilizer focuses on the solutions as well. So they highlight the issue, but they focus on the solutions. How do you get out of this challenge that you face? Joining us this morning, Danavan Pryce, and he's agronomist for Zone 1, but he does a lot of research. Good morning, Danavan, and welcome back to the show. How you do?
Good morning, Althea. It's great to be back, and I'm not doing too bad at all. How are you this morning?
I am great. I'm great. On the outside, I'm battling the heat. I'm giving thanks that in the studios of Power 106 FM, it's a little cooler in here. I might have to move in.
I agree.
And of course, I have already one of your guests online, Miss Daphney Watson. Mrs. Watson, good morning.
Good morning. It is actually Todd Watson.
I know it is. But since I have Daphney Watson here, I'm going with what they have on the script because there's a specific reason why it is Daphney Watson. How you do?
I am great, thank you. How about you?
I am great. You're keeping secrets from me.
No, man, we need to catch up,
All right, so listeners, you would guess that I know this guest, right? All right, so I'm going to start with Danavan, though, and then I'm going to come to you because I'm anxious to hear your story, too. But Danavan, when we're talking crop productivity this morning, what is meant by that term, crop productivity, and its relevance in our current agricultural system?
Yes, Althea, great question. Good morning to our listeners in Radio Land. So when we speak to crop productivity, it basically surrounds maximizing the yield potential of a particular crop throughout its life cycle. So it really takes into focus specific farming activities such as your pest and disease management strategies, water management strategies, pH management strategies, and improving them to a level of efficiency that lends itself to a greater productivity in that crop. Now, that is the outcome that every farmer wants to have. Now, when you make reference to crop productivity, it brings into focus a particular analysis which we call the cost-benefit analysis, which is very critical because what it does, it plays a crucial role in assessing the relationship between the investment that you're putting into your farm and enhancing the crop productivity with the resulting economic returns. So the cost benefit basically analyzes, is your operation efficient enough that the benefits outweigh the cost? Yes? Now, one of the highlights of that analysis that comes out is what we call a ROI. Now, most investors in any business will know that term, which means return on investment, right? So basically, it basically compares the cost of implementing certain farming strategies with the expected benefits such as increased yields or improved crop quality. And this information basically helps the farmer, helps the grower to make decisions about allocating specific resources and adopting certain farming practices that offer the greatest ROI. And that's the outcome of any business that anyone is going into. You want to have the greatest return on investment as best as possible. Now, one of the importance or relevance of crop productivity to the agricultural landscape is, one, it enhances food security. So we are seeing population boom, where the global demand for food. So if you can have an acre of land producing more, what it means is that you add to the stability of the food security of the country, and therefore you're able to feed more mouths compared to not having that productivity before. And next importance of crop productivity is that it lends itself to economic stability. Yes? So higher crop productivity leads to increased agricultural output, which can contribute to economic growth in the Jamaican landscape and stability. It generates income for the farmers. It supports the homes and stimulates agricultural businesses and related industries, factories, to develop and foster economical development within the country, a healthy economical development in the country. And next importance that makes it relevant is the profitability for farmers. So Higher yields for farmers mean increased revenue from the sale of crops. Enable the farmers now to invest more into their operations. It helps them to improve the standard of living and to sustain whatever agricultural businesses they may have going. It also improves crop productivity. Productivity can also reduce production costs, enhance efficiency, and boost the overall farm profitability. And so we're here today, Alta, while there are many factors that do affect crop productivity, like environmental stress, and we'll touch into a few of those. We want to dial into one factor that plays a critical role, which is crop nutrition. And that's why we're here today to discuss the intricacies of that on crop productivity. And we'll look also on some cost-benefit analysis that we have gathered from farmers throughout the trade that have been using specific nutrient regimes in their operation.
All right. So before we delve into those issues, since I already have Mrs. Daphney Watson on, Mrs. Watson, how long have you been in farming?
Well, actually, my farming is going orchid, and that's my hobby.
So you're into
And
ornamentals, which is what I know about you.
Yes. Yes. Well, I have my little backyard garden where I plant very few, like little callaloo and so on. But my main focus is on my hobby, which is my orchid.
It's a hobby no more. I know it's no longer a hobby. So we'll get back to that because we want to find out how Newport-Fersan has assisted you. But let me just bring Danavan back in to find out. Danavan, you mentioned environmental stress, but what are some of the other common issues that impact crop productivity?
Okay, good. Now, given that we're dialing into nutrition, let me start with nutrient imbalance, which is a glaring issue right across the landscape, right? So when we talk about nutrient imbalance, in the South, we're talking about that plants require a balanced supply of nutrients to grow and develop optimally. Now, when there's an imbalance of our deficiency, and we talk about deficiency, we're talking about the lack of a specific nutrient, right? Now, when there's a deficiency or an imbalance in the nutrients provided, it can lend itself to limit the crop growth, yes, reduce yields, and negatively affect the overall productivity of your crop. Now, I'll just give two examples. So when we look at macronutrient imbalance, so when we talk about macronutrients, these are nutrients that plants need in large quantities, like your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potassium. Now, when there's an imbalance in the availability of these nutrients, for example, nitrogen, it can lend itself for the plant to have stunted growth and yellowing of leaves and reduce overall vigor of the plant. When there's a lack of phosphorus in the soil or availability to the plant, it can limit root development as well as flowering, thus impacting crop yields and reducing your productivity significantly. And next factor is nutrient antagonism. Now, when we talk about nutrient antagonism, it occurs when there's excessive levels of one nutrient negatively affecting the uptake or availability of another nutrient. In other words, when persons over-fertilize with a particular nutrient, that particular nutrient prevents the plant from taking up other nutrients. So, for example, if there's an excess of potassium being put on, it can prevent the plant from uptaking magnesium or calcium. So when you have nutrient antagonism, it basically disrupts your nutrient balance and lends itself to reducing the crop productivity. Now, another issue that stands out is pH imbalance. So when we talk about pH imbalance, pH directly influences soil fertility and nutrient availability. Now, on the pH scale, it makes reference to acidic from 0 to 6.5, and from 7.5 to 14, it represents alkaline. Yes? Now, every nutrient requires a specific pH range to operate and for the plant to uptake it efficiently. So, for example, if the pH is highly acidic, it may prevent the uptake of this particular nutrient. And if it is highly alkaline, it may prevent the plant from uptaking this particular nutrient. Now,
It needs to be at the right level.
pH,
Yes.
right? So you can imagine if the pH is on either extreme levels, the plants can't access the nutrients that are available. And so therefore, if the plants can't access the nutrients that it needs at the right time of its growth stage, what you're going to find is that the productivity of the crop begins to fall, and it indirectly starts to affect the revenue, the potential revenue of the farmer in respect to. Next issue is pest and disease management, which plays a key role, and two highlights that I want to bring about in how pest and disease there's a relationship between pest and disease management and crop productivity. So, for example, yield protection. So, pests such as insects, mites, and rodents, and disease caused by fungi, bacteria. By implementing pest and disease management practices, farmers can protect their crops from these threats and minimize yield losses, ensuring higher productivity. And next thing is resource efficiency. So, pest and disease management practices lend itself to resource efficiency by optimizing the use of inputs such as pesticides, for example. So there's a particular activity that we call integrated pest management approach, which emphasizes the use of multiple pest control methods, including cultural, biological, chemical controls. And this helps to minimize input costs, reduces the environmental impact, and ensure the efficient use of resources while maintaining productivity. So these are some of the issues that jumps out at you when you're looking at a crop productivity outlook, Althea. And as we go along, we can discuss more of these in depth.
All right. Well, let me bring Mrs. Todd Watson back in. So she has already established what crops she grows. But Mrs. Watson, on a scale of 1 to 10, how productive would you say your operation has been, your hobby as you characterize it?
Well, my crop as the orchid was undergoing a lot of environmental stress. There's drought, extreme heat, and all the negatives that comes with growing orchid. And so the product was introduced to me by Mr. Pryce, and I can tell you, Althea, this is the best thing since sliced bread for me. Because, you know, orchids, that hobby is a very expensive hobby.
Yes.
And when you get up and look and see your plants are dying, the leaves are getting yellow, you're not getting any bloom, I tell you, it's very depressing.
So it was nowhere near as productive as you would have wanted it to be.
I would have wanted it to be. But here comes Mr. Pryce. This is the answer to my problem. Mr. Pryce introduced 3 products to me. I was a little bit taken aback when he told me about the product because, you know, as a grower, you tried everything that you hear about, invest a lot of money, not getting the desired result. But I tell you, there is 3 products: Orchid Premium, Orchid Marc, and Plant Start. And trust me, this is not a sales strategy. This is about using the product and seeing results. And not only seeing results, the turnaround time to see results is, I tell you, awesome. Within a month, my garden is looking like it's coming off of the pages of a magazine. Everything was green. Everything had roots. There's a product that is designed for root and growth development, Orchid Marc. That is awesome. I tell you, I give you an experience about 3 bare root orchids about a month ago for a friend of mine. And it was struggling. So, you know, when you buy bare root, especially orchid, it takes a lot of time. And after using the product, within 4 weeks, the orchid has about 6 or 7 top roots.
Wow.
That means the roots are going above the plant.
Yes.
So I am actually seeing where my plants are experiencing balanced nutrition, good root and leaf development, and to top it all, the product gives the plant a fighting chance.
which is really very critical. Mrs. Todd Watson, I did say you say it is a hobby. I see it as being more than that because I can see the potential given how excited you are about the passion. That is the right word for it. And so I have no doubt that you're going to continue to grow from strength to strength and that this is going to become a major part of what it is that you do going forward. Well, what a joy it was to just be able to connect with you in this kind of a way. And we look forward to more conversations with you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. Daphney Todd Watson there talking to us about her orchid operation. She says it's a hobby, but following guidance provided by Newport-Fersan, she has seen tremendous productivity in the orchids are certainly more productive now, and that's why I'm saying to her perhaps this is more than just a hobby at this point in time. When we come back from the break, we have a couple of other guests that we're going to be learning about their operations and how it is that this engagement with Newport-Fersan Jamaica is helping them to move to greater productivity in their crops.
Miss Betty, early blight take over my tomato. And me pepper full of powdery mildew. What me I go do?
Clear way.
Oh, you are tell me fi clear way. What do you think me and your friend?
No, Mas Kelso. May I tell you to use Clearway from Newport-Fersan, Jamaica. It is a contact and systemic fungicide with protective and curative actions against a wide range of fungal diseases such as anthracnose and early blight in tomato, purple blotch in onion, late blight in potato, leaf spot in peanut, powdery mildew in pepper, and much more.
Thanks, Miss Betty. You're really my friend. Me call me Newport-Fersan rep right now. Can't forget that name there. Clearway.
Clearway. Farmers, get your supply today. Another premium product from Newport-Fersan Jamaica Limited.
All right, so Farm Talk continues here on Power 106 FM. We're inside the feature Fersan in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions. There's a lot for us to talk about, so we're pressing quickly along to our next guest. And this is, now I need to know if the next guest can tell me what the name is because I don't want to get anything wrong. So good morning, and could you please introduce yourself so I have the pronunciation well. I need to get the right pronunciation for your name.
Quenton, good morning.
All right. So Quenton, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Great to have you on with us. Quenton, what crops do you grow?
Scotch bonnet peppers, sweet peppers, and okra at the moment.
And where is your farm located?
This is in Hydal, Trelawney. Just a few minutes from the Clarkstone district.
How long have you been in farming?
Commercially, 3 years.
And what has that experience been like for you over these 3 years? Considering, of course, that this sounds like the operation started at just about the same time when COVID did.
Well, yeah, that would have been the driving force behind it.
Ah, very interesting.
Yes.
And so what were you doing before farming?
Still, I'm actually in the hospitality industry. I'm a personal butler.
Oh, that makes sense. So you can recommend the food that you grow to your guests that will make them healthier.
Correct. Yes.
All right,
trying to bridge the gap there.
I see the relationship.
Yes.
All right, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how productive would you say your operation has been?
Well, with the introduction of Fersan within my operation, I'd have to give it a 10.
Yeah, so
it is. There's nothing is perfect, but this is almost perfect. So a 10 is good enough.
Well, let me ask you then. Let me put it this way: before following the guidance provided by Newport-Fersan, where were you?
I was at between a 5 and a 6.
Okay, all right. And then after receiving the guidance by Newport-Fersan, you're at a 10. What factors would you say had the most negative impact on your operation prior to the intervention of Newport-Fersan?
Nutrient deficiency. I heard Mr. Pryce made that point earlier, and that is a very persistent issue, especially in my area. But nutrient deficiency was an issue within my operation.
Okay.
As a young farmer, you get mediocre guidance. Plant 5,000 roots of Scotch bonnet peppers, and you apply this at this time, you apply that at that time. There is no precision to the operation.
Okay. And
Right.
so what you're engaged now in is precision farming, because you now have a better understanding of what needs to be done and where it is that you want to go with it.
Correct, and this is 100% due to the intervention of Fersan.
Okay. Let me bring Danavan in. Danavan,
Yes.
what
Yes,
products
Auntie.
what products did you introduce to Quenton?
All right. So Quenton program was tailored as a precise nutrient management program that intakes various products that would have been used in his operation, such as pesticide. We have our Spectra, Soca, Enigma, Clearway, which would tend to lend itself to managing his pest and disease aspect. Then nutrients such as your MOP, your booster line solubles, just to name a few, that would be used in his operation to improve his operation. Now, one of the things that we pride ourselves in Altia is that no nutrient program is written in stone. And what happens is that our agronomists follow through with periodic field assessment, yes, and field appraisals. And once we see where the operation might need a little tweak there, a little tweak there to be more efficient in that aspect, or perhaps because of the changes that we're seeing in the plant, it may require for us to use this particular nutrient in respect to that particular source of nutrient. And we'll make the recommendation, and the farmer will follow through with such products. So Mr. Quenton has been an avid, very disciplined in his nutrient approach, always asking questions, always seeking advice, and always giving a listening ear to recommendations that would made for various products throughout his production. As you can hear from his mouth, that his productivity has increased significantly over the time period that he had his crop in the ground there.
Okay. Well, Quenton, let me find out from you. This experience that you have had clearly has been a good one. Are you sharing the information with others?
Yes, I am. One of the questions that I've always been getting is, how is it that your peppers are so big? How is it that they are so sturdy or firm? Well, Fertilizer has a product known as the high yield package, and they can tell you, I go for that package anytime I can. I repeat the steps, sometimes too much. But what the high yield package does is whatever the plants need, there's 3 stages to a plant growth, right? You have the start, where there's root development. You have the vegetative growth. You have the blossoming, and then you have the fruiting. Now, I am a big fan of the blossoming stage and the fruiting stage, because this is where the high package boosts the tree to produce a lot of blossom. Like sometimes I have more blossom than leaves.
Okay.
On the tree. So I can tell you the high package works. And in regards to the side, this is the last stage of the high package now, where it boosts the fruit with boron. And I can tell them is, before I began farming, I didn't know anything about boron, nitrogen, phosphorus, macronutrients, micronutrients, the need of calcium, nitrate, magnesium, and Fersan came. And I can say I'm probably an agronomist myself.
There we go.
It is as plain as that.
I tell you, and I'm very happy that you have been learning these lessons along the way, Quenton, and it has led to greater productivity. Great talking with you, and I look forward to more conversations with you.
It's an absolute pleasure.
All right. Take care. Quenton Morgan there. And I have a couple of questions for you before we move to our next guest, Danavan. A couple of questions coming in from our listeners via WhatsApp. Good morning, Ms. McKenzie. Can you ask the Fertilizer rep how to use initiator? So this is one question, but there's another question from the same person. So you want to go with that one first?
Yeah, I can go with that one first. All right. So So the question is, how can I use initiator? All right. Now, I don't know what type of operation system the person has, whether it's a drip system or they're looking to apply the product foliar, but I'll answer in those respects. So the first thing that you have to know is that the initiator is a high phosphorus source nutrient that provides rooting for the plant, as well as it helps to stimulate flowering for the plant. So it's normally used in the early establishment phase of the crop, or if it is that you want to stimulate flowering in your plants. Now, you can apply it via the drip, yes, or you can apply it via foliar, right? Now, if you're applying it via foliar, we recommend a mixture of 3 pounds to the drum. Now, via the drip, depending on the growth stage, the stage of development of the crop, what I recommend is for her to just reach out to us here at Newport-Fersan, and an agronomist would follow, because there are some intricacies that we tend to want to look at in guiding them in terms of the right quantity of nutrients to drip on the plant. So the customer can reach out to us, and an agronomist will come by, or we'll have a more intricate discussion with her in respect to what she's doing.
Right. So the other part of the question was, can you recommend something to get rid of moths as well as insects in the soil?
All right. So when the farmer speaks to moths, all right. So let me explain something. So when we talk about moths, I am guessing that she's making reference to those moths that eventually would lay eggs that would lend itself to worms developing in the field. Now, what you want to control is the worms that are developing. So usually when the moths lay those eggs, within 3 days' time, those eggs will hatch, right? So in your pest and disease management, what you'd want to do is to have your products on hand to control the development of these worms at their various stages. Now, we have products such as Spectra, which has the active ingredient lambocylotrin and profenophos, and it targets worms, thrips, aphids, mites, and whiteflies. And then we have a next product called First Strike, which also lends itself to controlling worms. So the moths in the field is usually an indication that they're in the process of laying eggs in the field. Yes, and then those eggs, yes, will eventually hatch into larvae, which are the destructive phases of the worm's life cycle, and will feed aggressively on the foliage of the leaves, right? So once you know the life cycle, then you're able to control or improve your strategies in controlling that worm.
All right. We're on the break. I'm going to clear the commercials, coming back to you. So we're holding you over this morning because we have one other guest to get to. But just before we take the break, let me give you a sense of some of the other questions we want you to answer when we come back. You're to spell the name of the products that you're speaking of and where the products can be sourced. And then the other issue I'll share with you when we come back from the break.
Farmers, you can now prevent and cure fungal diseases with Eradicate Systemic Fungicide from Newport-Fersan, Jamaica Limited. Eradicate is effective against rust in coffee, citrus, sugarcane and peanut, black and yellow cicotoca, early blight, mildews, purple blotch in onions, and other fungal diseases. Get your Eradicate at your nearest farm store or at the Newport-Fersan office, 2A2B Worry Wharf Complex. Stay in control with Eradicate.
All right, so we are still with the team from Newport-Fersan, and quite a number of questions and comments rolling in. By the way, one of them, Donovan, is from one listener who says the high yield package is very good. I've used it and I'm getting good results. But before we took the break, I did ask you to give the names of the products and just spell them. I think this is for a listener who just wants to take a note. And then where can the products be sourced?
All right. So the products that I've mentioned, Spectra is SPECTRA, and First Strike, FERSTRIKE. Right now, these products can be found in various farm stores in different parishes. I don't know which parishes parish the farmer is in. But what I can recommend is for her just to give us a call at 618-0532. Or you can reach out to us on our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook. And what we'll do is give you a more direct information as depending on the parish that you're in, to which farm store that you can go to access these products. But these products are popularly right across most farm stores in the country. So she can just give us a call on that number and we'll tell her exactly where.
So we did get a question about the contact number. So give that out again for me.
So the contact number is 618-0532.
All right. And the question, there's another question here, Miss Mac, are these products specifically for orchids?
So the Orchid blends, that's the Orchid Max, which promotes root and vegetative development, and the Orchid Premium, which supports bloom stimulation and maintaining your blooms, are specifically designed for orchids. So yes, so the Orchid blend, the Orchid Max, Orchid Premium are specifically designed for your orchid operations. The plant start, which Ms. Watson also mentioned, can be used on a wide range of crops, right? It's a stress relief, and it also provides nutrients that helps to stimulate root growth and flower stimulation as well.
All right, excellent. And of course, we have one final guest that we're getting to on the program this morning because, of course, we like to spread the love and joy in terms of all things that are growing. And so we introduce Jean Marc. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Oh, it's Jean.
Yes.
All right. Now that I've heard the voice, I now know. All right. So tell us a little bit about your farm operations.
Okay, so the operation in which I'll be focusing on mainly is my greenhouse. However, I also do outdoor farming as well.
Okay.
So in the greenhouse, I had some sweet peppers, Revelation and Early Sensation. Mr. Pryce made a visit to my farm one day, and he was not pleased with what he saw.
You are doing some things wrong.
Yes, apparently. However, at that time, I did not realize that there were so many things that were going wrong. Prior to his coming, I did a soil test and I was awaiting the results. And his recommendation was that when I get back the results from the soil test, that he would formulate a program for me. So I went ahead and followed the program thoroughly. And within a month, I saw a significant turnaround in my production.
A month?
Yes, within a month. A significant turnaround.
Excellent. I listened keenly as you spoke about the fact that you have both a greenhouse and open field operation. Have the results been similar in the greenhouse as you have in the open field with the use of the products? Because I have a sense that you're using the products both in open field and in the greenhouse.
Right. Yes, I am.
So
they are pretty much similar. I think the greenhouse would outweigh the outdoor one, though.
Okay, all right. And I'm also wondering, how did you decide to get into greenhouse farming? And by the way, did you start with open field or greenhouse?
I started with open field.
Okay. And what experience were you having in open field that caused you to go into greenhouse farming?
The experience was good, but I am still doing open field. I won't neglect open field farming. Over greenhouse farming would just be a plus for me. It's my father is the one who actually assisted me with the greenhouse farming aspect.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, so he sparked that interest, and
let me bring Danavan back in. Danavan, what did you introduce to Jean-Marc, and what has made the difference in his operations?
All right, so it's a variety of recommendations that lend itself to Mr. Marc seeing an improvement in his crop production. So when visiting his operation, there were a wider range of nutrient deficiencies seen, magnesium deficiencies, We also note viral infestations, and recommendations was made for the STAR, which is the viricide that treats viruses in his sweet pepper. We also make recommendations for nutrients such as the nitrosol, the yield booster soluble, the start booster soluble as well. And what happens is that this magnesium sulfate as well was also introduced as well. And so these lend itself to improving his outcome of his crop. So for example, when we met, his greenhouse operation was far along already, but the yield was falling significantly, yes? And I remember asking Mr. Marc the question, do you want to continue? Are you ready to give up on your operation right now? And he said, no, he wants to continue and to get more yields. Oh, and he will tell you the yields that he has been getting before and after. But he wanted to get more yields out of his house. He wasn't ready to call it quits as yet. And I said, all right. The soil test was done. The products recommended, including our Spectra, Sucker, Enigma, Clearway, other nutrients as well was recommended, the Maniplex Potassium, the Maniplex Magnesium, and these were recommended. And he would have followed the program to the T and had seen a significant decrease in nutrient deficiencies in his house. Viral infestations were under control, and which lend itself to an increase in his productivity of his sweet peppers and a prolonged operation of his crop within that house.
All right, and let me just take that final word from him. Jean-Marc, of course, Danavan speaks about the differences that you have seen, but you can better explain them in terms of the yield.
Yes, I can. Okay, so I got this program in November, and at the end of November, and I started using it in mid-December. So in November, I got a yield of 459 pounds for the month, and in December, the yield was 372 pounds. And then in January now, when I started to use the program fully, I got 700 pounds for my yield.
What are you saying to me? You should have seen how I had to lean back in the chair to absorb that one. That is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Wow. All right. Well, I kudos to you and to the team, because I don't know that you're doing this by yourself. A lot of work having to go into the operations, and we look forward to more conversations with you.
Okay.
All right. Take care. Danavan, I have just a minute to give you to talk to us about the upcoming activities.
All right, so we have a Zoom training activity coming up with Murphy Goodings, the agronomist for Trelawney, Westmoreland, St. James, and Hanover. He will be looking at yam production and its productivity. And that will be on this Wednesday coming at 7 p.m. via the Zoom. So we'll ask all farmers to tune in and to come with your questions, and our team will be available to answer them as best as we can.
I do know that you have some other activities coming up. I believe you're at the St. Elizabeth Agri-Fest at the SDC complex in Santa Cruz this Friday as well.
Yeah, that's on June 6th.
Right. And then you have a booster line tour?
Yes. We have a booster line tour with at H&L Agro stores coming up very soon right across the island, and we'll be putting out our flyers on our agronomist and technical sales consultant WhatsApp. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, where you can follow us to see where we're going to be next.
Well, I do have a little bit of information on that already. Yes. The Mandeville, Wednesday, June 14, Southfield, Friday, June 16, and Montego Bay on Tuesday, June 20. But, of course, next time the team comes back, we'll get the additional information. Thanks, Danavan.
Right.
All right, take care.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, Danavan Pryce there. Let's just take a quick word, and then we are going to wrap the show.
Fersan in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions, was brought to you by Newport-Fersan Jamaica Limited, the first on the land.